Hi, I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North. I want to share with you how I make black bean brownies. So you'll notice here on my black bean patch that I have a trellis system. Now, anyone who's ever grown black beans before knows that black bean plants are a bush variety. However, if you do a little bit of research, you will see that some people will say that they will send out runners. So I thought to myself, okay, I will set up this A-frame trellis in the hopes that I get some runners, and I thought that'll look really pretty and add some dimension to my garden. None of the 33 plants that I planted had any runners. This is my second planting of black bean plants. Here in Ontario, Canada, our very first frost date is estimated or averaged to be September 30th, October 1st. I'm hoping that we don't get our first frost date on or before those two dates. And the reason that I'm hoping that is I took a pretty big gamble in ripping out the first plants and planting new seeds. So a black bean seed takes roughly 12 to 14 days to germinate, and then another 80 days to reach its full maturity. Now, full maturity means that it has produced all of the beans that it's going to produce. So my hopes are that my plants, my new ones, will produce something, because it's a gamble, right? Everything you do in your garden is an experiment and a gamble. And so my thoughts are that I knew that I didn't have enough growing time to do a second planting, but I thought if I don't take the risk, I'm not going to end up with any new beans. Taking the risk, I may end up with more black beans. So take a look at how big the plants are right now. So I planted these plants probably about, I'm going to say 40 days ago. And so that means that I need about 60 days for these guys to reach full maturity. Now, we are at the end of August, which means that technically I have about 30 days. So I'm hoping that some of these will grow a little bit quicker. We have some hot weather again, and they thrive on the hot weather. So fingers are crossed for me. Come with me, we're gonna head inside. I'm gonna show you the drying rack that I use to dry my beans out on. And then I'm gonna show you how to remove the beans from the pods and how to make black bean brownies. If you don't know what your first frost date is, you can go into your search engine and you can type in, what is my first frost date, and then put the area in which you live. That will then tell you what your date is. You can then go in and type in how many days until and put in your frost date. If I was to do that and put in how many days until October 1st, it would actually pop up and tell me I have 35 days. It's a really good tool to have, and it's right at your fingertips. Now, I just wanted to show you our drying rack. It is 2x3, and it's made out of 1x2s, and it is really easy for me to lift up and give a shake if I need to. We have sandwiched in between the 1x2s a 1/4 inch mesh, and we did the very small mesh so that the seeds wouldn't fall through on the ones that actually opened up. Now, we determined that our plants were at the fullest maturity because some of the plants were starting to get the brown pods. So what we did is we actually cut all the plants off at the soil level and then pulled off all of our pods. After that, I did go out and I planted 33 more seeds, which I just showed you. So we are going to remove all of these seeds or all of the beans from these pods, and we'll bring you back when we're done. of the beans have been removed from the pods, and we got 3 cups of black beans. That means that I have enough to do 1 batch of black bean brownies and 1 batch of black bean burgers. Black beans are a great source of fiber and protein, and they help to maintain your bone health. And I grew these, and now I know that I want to grow more next year. I don't know if any of you keep a journal of how many plants you plant of each thing and then how much harvest you get from each, but I do that. And if you haven't done that yet, I would highly recommend that you do it. And one of the things that I use is, right now it's back to school. So you can actually go out to Walmart and buy a very thin little notepad. They come in different colors. They have blue, pink, green, and yellow, and they're 10 cents. And you can use that to map out what your garden is going to look like next year. You could draw what it looked like this year and how you want to improve it. And you can write down how many plants you had and what your harvest was from those plants to determine whether or not you want to plant more of one particular variety next year. I know that I want to plant more of these. I think that we definitely want to have more black beans so that we can store them. I'm thinking storing them in a mason jar as well as cooking them and making a big batch of black bean burgers so that if you have a busy night, you can just pull them out and warm them up because they'll already be cooked. I'm going to take these black beans and I'm going to soak them overnight. Black beans are one of the dry beans that you don't technically have to soak them overnight prior to cooking. However, all of the research that I've done on black beans indicate that if you soak them, they cook more evenly, they cook quicker, and your body digests them better. So I'm going to take that advice and I'm going to soak these tonight, and in the morning I'm going to make the black bean brownies. Brownie making day. So all of the beans have been soaking all night in the pot of water. Rule of thumb is that if you have 1 pound of dried beans, then you should be soaking or cooking with 10 cups of water. I had 1.5 pounds of beans, so I used 15 cups of water. Now I'm going to drain these beans, rinse them, and replace the 15 cups of water. I'm then going to add 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and I have Himalayan pink salt. You can use whatever salt you have. So the rule of thumb on the salt is that it's 1 tablespoon for every 10 cups of water. I'm gonna let this simmer for an hour. I'm gonna make sure that I'm stirring it throughout that hour because I wanna make sure that the beans on the bottom of the pot don't cook faster than the beans on the top or vice versa. I want them all to cook equally so that when I'm done cooking them, all the beans are ready and I don't have any hard ones. While the beans are cooking, I thought I would show you 3 different seed packages that I got yesterday at my local gardener shop. The first one is a pumpkin and it is called Fairy Tale. And it's by Ontario Seed Company. And it says that it is a deep orange flesh and superb for baking and soups. And it's called Fairy Tale. The next one I got was tomato banana legs. How cool is that? And it says that this one is really good for slicing into salads or use in sauces or pasta. So that's cool. And then, who doesn't want a teddy bear sunflower? All of the beans have been cooked now. I cooked them for approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes. Removed them from the heat. I rinsed them, drained them, rinsed them again, threw them into a bowl, and then proceeded to blend them up in my Vitamix. Now, I've never used my Vitamix blender to blend up beans before, and there's a reason for it. You shouldn't be using your Vitamix to blend up beans. If you have a food processor, that would make this whole process a lot quicker. It would probably cut out maybe 10 minutes of your time on this recipe. I had to put them into a bowl and use a fork to crush them up, which isn't a big deal. But if anyone's watching this from my family and they're looking for Christmas wish ideas, I do need a food processor. I'm going to tell you all of the ingredients that I'm going to be putting into the bowl, and down below in the description notes, I will put the full measurements of everything that you need to make this recipe. So we're going to be using quick oats. We're going to be using cocoa powder. We're going to be using a little bit of salt. We're going to be adding in honey as well as a little bit of maple syrup, coconut oil, pure vanilla extract, which I got from Punta Cana. We're going to be using baking powder and of course chocolate chips, and let's not forget the black beans. So I'm going to get started putting everything into the bowl, and then I'll bring you back just as we're ready to pop it into the oven. The oven has been preheated to 350. I'm going to slide this into the oven and check on it in about 18 to 20 minutes. You can use whatever container you want. I happen to be out of all of my 9x9 containers. They have stuff in them in the freezer, so I'm using a round deep dish. Again, they're your brownies, make them how you want. I will bring you back for a live testing with my son Wesley so we can see the look on his face when he tries these for the first time. Brownies are all done. Only thing that I would recommend if you're going to make these is to use a bigger container than I used. I had to use a round deep dish and I had to cook it longer. If you were to use a square or rectangle container, then your brownie would be a little bit thinner and it would actually cook quicker. So we haven't tried this yet. We're going to try it now, and you're going to get to see our true feelings on whether or not we like black bean brownies.
Pretty good.
It is good, eh? Mmm. Can you taste the black beans in it? Try another piece. See if you can taste them.
Oh wait, yes I can.
Can you? A little bit, but mixed with the cocoa and the chocolate chips,
Oh, it's cocoa and
it almost, you can't. Like, you're not sure if it's black bean or chocolate. Thanks for spending your time with me.